I'm so glad you could all join us today. I'll ask you to take your seats, and just as a reminder, to turn your phones on silent, and we'll get going here. This is really a celebratory occasion, this graduation of our first cohort of Linkage to Care peer guides who were assembled right up here. And we have a lovely program, and we're going to hear from several of them, and our guest speaker today, Duncan Teague. But first, I want to introduce you to Dean Michael Erickson, who's made himself available to come by and greet you all, and I will give you a more thorough introduction of our Linkage to Care program a little bit later. Right now, I'm very honored to introduce Michael Erickson, founding dean of the School of Public Health and principal investigator and director of the Center of Excellence on Health Disparities Research, under which this Linkage to Care peer training program resides. Professor Erickson received his training at Johns Hopkins University and has had a long and distinguished career both in academia and in the private sector and in state and local government. Dean Erickson was senior advisor to the World Health Organization and the longest serving director of the CDC's Office on Smoking and Health. Much of his research and work right now is centered around studies of smoking and the behavioral aspects of that. In fact, he is the lead researcher on the largest grant that's ever been awarded to Georgia State that funded one of the 14 tobacco centers of regulatory science that we call TCORs. GSU is focusing on particularly important aspects of this regulatory science, or understanding how human decision-making works around the use of tobacco products, and particularly all these new tobacco products that are emerging, like e-cigarettes and vaping, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, and hookahs and such. Dean Erickson has led the university's public health program since 2002, and most recently has shepherded it through a period of tremendous growth as we've moved from an institute to a school of public health, which means gaining faculty, covering a wider breadth of areas, and just growing rapidly. And I'm extremely grateful for the constant support Dean Erickson has shown for the Linkage to Care Peer Guide Training Program, and so glad he could take a few minutes out of his hectic schedule to come by and speak a few words today. Thank you, Michael.
Well, good morning. Is this reverberating for you? Yes. Okay. Let's see if we can get this fixed before I give you a headache before lunch. Should we use one or the other?
You might just turn it off if you don't think you'll need it, I think.
Well, there's some people who might have hearing problems, don't they?
Right.
What's the best
Okay.
thing to do?
Well, we can just take this to your
Does this one
shirt.
work?
This works, but it's just, this is what we need to pick up the video.
Okay, this is the important one.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the important one. So we can just,
Sure.
we just want to take that and if that, just make sure everybody knows
Correct.
to come do that when they come up. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm still talking to this one, see if it's doing it now.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't spend as much time as I'd like in the community. I seem to spend all my time behind a desk in front of a computer, and in fact I have two screens going back, and I have some of my colleagues have three screens. I don't know why they need all those screens to look at, but I realize that the work I do at my desk is really only about ultimately reaching you and working with you and thanking you for what you do, because that's what public health is. I've been at Georgia State for going on 13 years. It's the longest employment I've had anywhere, but I spent my entire career working in public health around the United States and around the world, and it's been a very rewarding experience for me, and it really motivated me to come to the university to work on projects and particularly to train students to have careers in public health so that they can go forward in an organized, systematic way and help address the problems that plague our world. And we don't need to list them. The problems speak for themselves. They have a tendency to do that. This program under Marianne and Donna's leadership is a very important one for us to try to address some of the health inequities that exist in Atlanta and in Georgia, where we can try to make a difference. And we've been very pleased to receive support from all of you community members, and I hope to hear who's here from the community agencies. We receive financial support from the Elton John Foundation, which is we're very pleased and impressed by that. I was so impressed, I wrote him a letter thanking him. I said, Sir Elton, and they said, well, you don't want to, he's not going to read your letter. And I said, well, but I'm grateful. I want him to know that I'm grateful. I'm personally grateful. Our early work here was supported by Congressman John Lewis, who's been a great advocate for health equity and is very proud of the work that he's done and cares very much about issues around HIV in the community and incarceration, and is a big champion of that. And we've been able to support some of the work through the grants that we have. We have, in addition to the tobacco grant that Donna mentioned, we have another federal grant to be a center of excellence in health disparities research. And we've done, over the last 5 years, a number of projects that have looked at issues as broad as public housing and the health of people in housing and where they go after they leave housing, to how to prevent child maltreatment and getting the role of fathers more involved in that area, and the role the faith community can play in HIV prevention and control. So we're very proud of our community work, and we very much want to do more, and we want to do it in partnership. And there is actually another grant opportunity that we're considering now that requires community partnership. It only can be done in hand in glove with the community. And so with community agencies and NPUs and community leadership, we hope to continue the work to help address the inequities and disparities that really are the root causes of a lot of the public health problems that we have in Atlanta and around the country. So this is an honor for me to be here. I'll be able to stay for a little while, and if you have any questions of me, I'd be pleased to answer them. But I want to thank you for your participation, for your cooperation, for people coming together to address and help solve a problem rather than looking to get credit for something. You're doing it because you know it needs to be done and you believe in it and it makes a difference. You're not looking to get credit. You're looking to make a difference, and that's what really public health is all about. So thank you for what you do, and I see we have a long list of speakers, so I won't say anything more, but thank you for being here, and good luck in your work. Thank you. So this is for the video, so they want to record it, all you might need to pin it on your shirt.
It's on your...
Oops, twisted up here, all right. I walked around too much here, I'm afraid. It's still here, huh? Oh, it's in my pocket.
It's in your pocket. I'll,
Thank you.
we can just sit it right up here. I'll just hold this. Thank you, Michael. Now I'd like to introduce Marianne Adams, Director of the Community Engagement and Outreach Core within the Center of Excellence on Health Disparities Research, and also Director of the Impact Project, which looks at the role of religion and the Black church in relationship to HIV. Marianne's a dear friend of mine for many years and respected colleague. And as I was putting this program together, I went to her and also to Duncan Teague, another longtime friend and colleague, and I said, give me some advice. What am I missing here? I know I'm missing something. I haven't ever put a graduation on. I've put on many events, but not a graduation. And the first thing they both said was, do you have live music? And I was like, oh, God. I completely blanked on the live music. So I scrambled around and called 3 or 4 professional singers and tried to get them lined up at the last minute. And that didn't work out. But I had a brainstorm, and that is that we could have the music of poetry. And Marianne has kindly been willing to read us a poem that I will allow her to introduce and set the proper tone for this event. Thank you. Marianne?
See if I can just put that on.
Flip it on.
Yeah. I guess, does it need to be? Good morning. Particularly to the graduates. It's wonderful to see you all again. Congratulations. What a great milestone. What a great day. I am going to read a poem called For My People by Dr. You can't hear me? Oh. No, I need the podium to hold my paper. Should we just turn it on? Okay, I'm good now. Can you hear me? Okay. So I selected a poem by Dr. Margaret Walker Alexander. She was a longtime professor at Georgia State University, and she wrote this poem before she even completed her PhD, when she was a housewife in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's called For My People. It was actually the first poem written in 1942 that won an award. She was the first black woman to win a national award for writing. And the poem really speaks to the power of resilience, not just for black people, but for people everywhere. And so I thought that this would be a fitting poem for you all today, because you are resilient, and you're powerful, and you're strong. And I hope you enjoy it. For my people everywhere, singing their slave songs repeatedly, their dirges and their ditties, and their blues and jubilees, praying their prayers nightly to an unknown God, bending their knees humbly to an unseen power. For my people, lending their strength to the years, to the gone years, and the now years, and the maybe years, washing, ironing, cooking, scrubbing, sewing, mending, hoeing, plowing, digging, planting, pruning, patching, dragging along, never gaining, never reaping, never knowing, and never understanding. For my playmates in the clay and dust and sand of Alabama backyards, playing baptizing and preaching and doctor and jail and soldier and school and mama and cooking and playhouse and concert and store and hair. For the cramped, bewildered years, we went to school to learn to know the reasons why, and the answers to, and the people who, and the places where, and the days when. In memory of the bitter hours when we discovered we were black and poor and small and different, and nobody cared, and nobody wondered, and nobody understood. For the boys and girls who grew in spite of these things to be men and women, to laugh and dance and sing and play and drink their wine and religion and success, to marry their playmates and bear children and then die of consumption and anemia and lynchings. For my people walking 47th Street in Chicago and Lenox Avenue in New York and Rampart Street in New Orleans, lost, disinherited, dispossessed, and happy people, filling the cabarets and taverns and other people's pockets and needing bread and shoes and milk and land and money and something all their own. For my people walking blindly, spreading joy, losing time being lazy, sleeping when hungry, shouting when burdened, drinking when hopeless, tired and shackled and tangled among ourselves by the unseen creatures who tower over us. For my people blundering and groping and floundering in the dark of churches and schools and clubs and societies, associations and counselors and committees and conventions, distressed and disturbed and deceived and devoured by money-hungry, glory-craving leeches, preyed on by the easy force of state and fad and novelty, by false prophet and holy believer. For my people standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way from confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams, all the Eves, and their countless generations. Let a new earth rise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let a people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty full of healing and a strength of final clenching be the pulsing in our spirits and in our blood. Let the marital songs be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a race of men and women now rise and take control. Congratulations.
We're all going to be doing that. Thank you so much. I just want to say a few words about this program for those of you who might not be familiar with what we're doing or why we're doing it. And that is the Linkage to Care Peer Guide program came out of the obvious need to have people out there on the front lines who could establish rapport and make connections and help get into care what is estimated to be the up to 40% of people who know their HIV status and are not in care. That's a shockingly high number, but that's what the case is here in the Atlanta EMA. And the peer guide movement, community health workers, peer navigators, whatever you want to call them, has been growing and developing for a good while, but I think it's beginning to gather steam, particularly in relationship to HIV prevention and care. And I'm very glad to see that happen and have been just privileged to work with this program. What I really want to share with you today, though, is just the joy I feel at having had the opportunity to witness the growth of this group of peer guides. They're a very diverse group in many ways, but have come together across differences and willingly embrace the hard work and complicated work that is involved in making real connections with our target populations for those people in need. I often think of peer guides as signposts of love and hope. I know that sounds a little bit corny, but I think there's truth there, that they are willing to stand in that gap that so many HIV positive people are falling through and say, I'm here, talk to me, tell me your story. And in that act of listening, and perhaps that's been the most important aspect of their training, learning to listen. In that act, they are communicating their willingness to extend themselves, to share their own stories of evidence that change is possible and that one can not only survive but thrive with HIV, and that they too can overcome whatever is holding them back from getting health care and creating lives that are purposeful and fulfilling. It's been so rewarding to facilitate this training program. Our learning model has been very dependent upon the willingness of local experts and collaborators to show up and share their wisdom that has been gleaned from your years of experience on the front line of this epidemic. And I'm so grateful for your participation. I feel like it's really been a collaborative effort. There's so many agencies and persons that have been involved that in the effort of saving a little time and having us hear from the peer guides, I'm not going to name you all individually, but I will. I do want you to stand up if you're representing one of our agencies, or if you've been a local expert and come and facilitated at one of the trainings, or if you've supervised an intern. Just stand up and let us see who you are. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming out. I could tell you a story about every one of these presentations, but it's 11:35, and I know you're going to want to eat lunch before too long. So, again, thank you. I also want to thank the staff that has worked with me so hard on this. Eleanor Hillman has been just a lifesaver and has stepped up and filled in all the gaps that I was missing. Marla Stewart has been a graduate research assistant that has worked with me throughout the program. Solomon Stretch, who could not be here today because of a new job he's taken, was a consultant on this project and helped facilitate it as well. Sarah Phillips and Amanda Muckle were other GRAs that helped me put this together, and I really thank them for that. Now I'm going to pass this on to Marla, I believe, who will introduce our first speaker.
Hello, everybody. Hey. Good morning. I've had the pleasure of working with all of our wonderful peer guides, and I was just really so proud of them. But I want to introduce you to Joanne Smith, so I'm going to read her bio really quickly. Joanne Smith was born and raised in Atlanta. She graduated from high school in 1975, married, and had 2 beautiful children. Smith struggled with addiction for a number of years, but is now working on 7 years clean. Her goal is to help people who test positive for HIV overcome stigma. Smith has worked with Planned Parenthood, recovery consultants, and the Saved Sisters Project. Joanne Smith completed her internship with Stand, Inc. The best thing about Joanne is that she is extremely caring. An amazing woman, she was always a voice in the room that was so insightful, always had something to say. And we all learned in that moment when Joanne spoke. So without further ado, Joanne, would you like to come up and speak for a bit? Of course.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank God for his mercy and his grace. I would like to thank the Elton John Foundation for the opportunity to be accepted into this program and for their fundings. Hi, Kim. My name is Joanne Smith. I was born and raised, I forgot my glasses. Where are my glasses? That's what I got on. I got them. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm nervous, yes I am. My name is Joanne Smith. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, I'm a Grady's baby. I was born to a wonderful mother and a functional alcoholic father. My grandmother and great-grandmother lived with us also and took up the slack where my father was unmanageable. I had a wonderful life. I graduated from high school in 1975, the same year my son was born. I married in 1979, the same year my daughter was born. I have 2 children. I got addicted to crack cocaine in 1986, and in 1994 I tested positive for HIV. Stigma was very hard on me. My family was not educated with HIV. I myself was not educated with HIV because I gave up on life as soon as I found out. 10 years was the longest that a person lived, statistics said, back in 1994. So I continued using. October the 2nd, 2008 was the last time I used drugs and the first time I entered the care of a doctor with the intentions of living. After realizing it was 14 years now after testing positive, I was still alive. And I was told if I take my medicines, I could live longer. Also letting go of the drugs forever. I made that promise to God then myself. I was especially grateful to Donna Smith and her staff for accepting me into the Linkage to Care program. I also want to thank Stan for the rewarding opportunity to intern and volunteer with the wonderful program they have. Thank you, Linkage to Care program, for the new start. I will not disappoint you. There are other people that I would like to thank. Kim Turner, she has been great during these years. I've been in care at Absolute Care. She's the social worker there, and every time I need her, she's always there for me. I don't know where this road is going to lead me, but I do know with the Linkage to Care program, I have all the tools and all the information I need to help others out in the community that test positive for HIV. I would like to thank my sisters who have been there for me from the beginning. Even in my addiction, they was there for me. I would like to thank the case managers from Jerusalem House. You know, there are so many things that people living with HIV need in their lives, and housing is a very big part of it. And Jerusalem House accepted me in their program, and their program is for housing. And so I live wonderful. And I want to thank you all for coming out. That's it. Thank y'all so much.
Joanne's a woman who always had hair to match every single outfit she had on. Absolutely amazing. Every time, every week. Anyway, our next speaker is going to be Nikayla Penn, and Nikayla is from Atlanta. Penn has been doing outreach and activism for over 6 years. She worked as a peer navigator for Aid Atlanta and has also served on state and local committees representing transgender women who are living with HIV and AIDS. Recently, she was invited to AIDS Watch 2015 in Washington, D.C. to educate our state representatives and encourage them to make sure that Georgia has appropriate funding for those living with HIV and AIDS. Nikayla Penn completed her internship at Positive Impact. Nikayla, this woman is absolutely amazing. She is such an all-star. I feel like everywhere I go, I see Nikayla always doing some sort of advocacy, some sort of work, just doing the work of the community, getting out and helping others. So without further ado, Nikayla, come on and speak.
Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay. Well, I'll just speak up. How's that? Can everybody hear me now? Okay. Good morning, you all. My name is Nikayla Penn. I'm from right here in Atlanta. I'm a Grady baby. Well, first, I'd like to thank the Elton John Foundation. I want to thank Ms. Donna and her crew for accepting me into this program. From the very first day I came into this program, I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And when I got into class, I see some familiar faces and some people I didn't know. So every week I look forward to coming to my class. I've learned something from all my classmates. And it is so sad that we have to part this time. But I know we'll see each other again. And I would just like to thank all my friends and family who came out to support me. And thank you to you all for coming. And my classmates, I love you all, and I do plan to keep in touch with you all. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Kelvin Parker, who's going to introduce our peer guide chosen speaker, Benjamin Young. And Kelvin is a longtime colleague of mine. He was one of the local experts that we brought in to speak to issues around reentry and HIV positive persons. He worked with me on another project called Community Connections, the one that Dr. Erickson referenced, that was brought to us through the support of John Lewis. It was a great program, and this program is really an outgrowth of that. But Kelvin will share a few words about Ben before he speaks. Thank you.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Everybody can. I got a big mouth. I'm definitely not a public speaker, so this is something that I was like, I don't know about that, but I had to jump at the opportunity when Donna asked me, because I pretty much have had some kind of affiliation with everybody over there. Kind of know the whole little crew. Ben. Talk about Ben. We got enough time, Ben. But Ben is a native Atlantan. He's a veteran of the Vietnam War. He has 12 and a half years of recovery. He has a lifelong love of learning. He studied at a number of colleges, including the University of South Carolina, Denver Tech, Spartanburg Tech, South Carolina State. He has a love of people he demonstrates through his years of affiliation with NA and AA meetings, and the countless number of people he's sponsored. Ben completed his internship at Atlanta Harm Reduction. Now, I'm going to say a few words about Ben. I met Ben through Community Connections. I was the field coordinator for that. And they would come in for monthly meetings, and Ben took on about 2 or 3 peer guides, I think, at one time. And I used to try to talk to him every month. Ben, you're taking on a whole lot, but it was never enough, you know. And I knew Ben would be perfect perfect for the linkage to care, because something Dr. Erickson mentioned earlier, Ben was not out there for accuracy. Ben was out there because he truly cared. We went in the field one time and Ben actually started crying because one of our peer guides, one of our participants, CD4 count had dropped to 1. And the guy was standing in an abandoned building, he wouldn't come out, and Ben started crying. You know, he made me cry like y'all was about to do now. So, come on up, Ben.
Oh, I got one of those. You don't have to worry about that.
It's for the video.
Oh, okay. Put it. Good morning. I'd like to first welcome everyone that came out to support us. This is a privilege and an honor. Usually when I'm asked to do these kinds of things, I'm usually long-winded. I've always been the individual that they have to shut down. But this morning, I have been forewarned. So I'm not going to belabor my time. What I'd like to do is acknowledge some individuals who have been instrumental in this journey that all of my other peer guides have taken. First, I'd like to acknowledge the Elton John Foundation, who funded this particular endeavor. I'd like to recognize those beautiful people at Harm Reduction who embraced us. But let me digress. This is an institution of higher learning, and verbal linguistics are every day at this particular institution. My time in Vietnam gave me a deep compassion for humanity, but I had no idea about the depth and the breadth of this scourge, this plight on our society. And I'm talking about HIV. From the first classroom session that we had, I was overwhelmed with the enormity of the devastation this particular scourge has taken on our society. We've gained some valuable information. We've learned some essential tools that we can use going forward. I need to always remember those individuals who were instrumental. Eleanor, Marla, our distinguished facilitator, our director, our coordinator, Miss Donna Smith. You can call Donna anytime. To my other graduates, my peer guides, those individuals, they are diverse, but we are compassionate. We are humble. We are steadfast in our commitment to do what is necessary so an individual does not need to suffer from the horrors of this scourge any longer. A lack of education is the biggest problem. A lot of individuals don't even know that they have an opportunity to be linked to care. One thing I've learned also, and it's new for me because I'm an NA and an AA baby. I've recently been introduced to a new process called harm reduction. And in harm reduction, what we do, we meet individuals where they are and encourage them. Just reduce some of your risky behavior. And if you will participate in reducing some of your risky behavior, sooner or later, you'll make a decision that you want to change. I've learned a lot of information. I've made some invaluable friends. I hope that this particular time that I've spent with you guys has been instrumental for you as well as for me. I definitely want to thank my beautiful fiance for coming out to support me. My kids couldn't make it. But one thing I know, we all need a relationship with the God of our understanding, and He has sustained me in a lot of these trying times. And I just want to share something with you guys, and I'm going to sit down because Donna told me, don't be. There is a place for me somewhere that only I may feel, a sunny spot where flowers grow upon a windy hill. There is always a tomorrow, and the best is yet to be. And somewhere in this world, I know that there is a place for me. I love you guys.
Thank you so much, Ben. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, Reverend Duncan Teague. Duncan Teague is a graduate of Candler School of Theology at Emory University, and he was recently ordained by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. And he is a guest speaker to UU congregations and other faith traditions throughout the Southeast. Reverend Teague is currently the Faith Outreach Consultant for Georgia Equality, co-sponsored by the national organization Freedom to Marry. He is also a member of the board of directors of the Freedom Center of Charlotte, North Carolina, and was a 2015 inductee to the Board of Preachers of the Martin Luther King Jr. International College of Ministers and Laity. Reverend Teague's professional life includes many years in HIV/AIDS research, education, and prevention, and I'm sure many of you in this room know Duncan from all of those years of work. His last HIV-related position provided the AIDS Research Consortium of Atlanta with recruitment and retention for the important study on tenofovir, now known as PrEP, or pre-exposure prophylaxis. This study helped prove that a daily dose would greatly reduce one's risk of contracting HIV. I also had the privilege of having known Duncan as a friend for a number of years, and I have to say he's one of the best men I know. He is kind of a chosen family and uncle to my daughter, and I've seen witnessed his travels as he's going around speaking various places now as kind of an itinerant preacher, because he always sends my daughter a postcard from every place he's traveled, and she's always very excited to get those, and she's learning to read script and longhand from wanting to read your postcards, Duncan. But thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm gonna be good to the videographer, bless your heart. They done thrown your microphone all over the place. Is it still morning? Okay, so you said I could talk till we got hungry, right? Thank you so much. What an honor. What an honor. I want to thank President Becker, the Elton John Foundation. I was going to call Elton, ask him why he wasn't here. I want to thank Dean Michael Erickson, this amazing program that has grown from an institute when I was working at Georgia State in the Department of Psychology as a research coordinator. We didn't have a school of public health. I'm gonna call Rollins and warn them. Center for Health Disparities Research, amen. And a Linkage to Care Peer Guides Training. All righty then. Ben, I'm gonna give you one of these. Because you about 2 seconds from, all you needed was a text, my brother. And I claim Donna as my in-law. Donna and I, without any of this, you know, it's about ribs and potato salad and a plate. Her wife used to be a vegetarian, bless her heart. Donna's wife introduced me to my husband, David, 22 years ago. It's possible, y'all. And that's a whole nother sermon about how, but. And photographers, please get a picture of this table of these women sitting here. This is historic. This needs to be framed. Y'all something else, thank you. The legendary Mary Ann Adams. Your fingers are everywhere. Thank you for all your work. From Mississippi, Lord have mercy. To the Spirit of Creation, for blessing us this morning with our friends Antonio Clark, Dwayne Edwards, Ronnie Kemp, Gerald Glivens, Nikila Penn, and Joanna Smith and Benjamin Young. Thank you for bringing them to this historic moment of joy and accomplishment. We thank their families and friends who had the good sense to come and be present in this moment of triumph for them. All those friends who knew what it means to work hard for something and to have attained it after struggle and sacrifice, because if I'm not mistaken, they didn't give y'all a check for doing this. Bless your heart. This is real love enacted for the good of our community, as the dean said. And we'd like to thank whoever came up with these ideas. If we train individuals from the community, they might be better conduits of information than some of the folks who we're currently relying upon. I'm just gonna make it plain. This recognition service is so important, y'all. Because if all of y'all had worked with the time to enact some great act of evil or wrong and invested the resources that it took to plan to do some great harm to the community of Atlanta, and you failed in it, then the cameras would be rolling. And they would somehow find every last one of y'all's bios, and y'all be stars on the news. Am I wrong? But y'all have given of your time and your energy and offered your service to some of our finest organizations. And we have to stop in our tracks and say, thank you. Good job. Y'all the bomb. Great work. And here's for the sad part, now we're relying on you. Some of y'all came into this training knowing almost more than some of your presenters. Some of y'all have presented in Washington, D.C. Excuse me. They ain't called me. Thank you for seeing that this program could enhance your brilliance and make you shine even brighter, and we're begging you to do so. We are begging you to do so. We have a community surrounding this campus that is reaching proportions of infection rates, prevalence, HIV, and AIDS in the community right here that's ushering and has to usher major change because things must change. Because the hot spot for the epidemic in the South, and the South is now the hot spot for the U.S. epidemic, is right here around Grady. We could throw a rock over there. But y'all know all of that folks are showing up in our clinical system so sick that we're not talking about managing their new infection. We're just trying to keep them alive. And how do we find what will maintain their life if we can keep them alive? And many of the people I'm describing are waiting on someone who has lived in their shoes to tell them what will save them. They're waiting on you. And they know where Grady is. They know where the IDP is. And some of them can write a brochure on HIV and AIDS. But the fear and the stigma have paralyzed them on how they're going to take care of themselves wholly and fully. And when that hasn't done it, the fear lessens and then denial creeps in with a sanction from our community. And if it weren't so, we would see some messages sponsored by us, targeted for us, about saving us that we couldn't ignore. But you can walk a lot of places in Atlanta and see nothing about HIV. Y'all are equipped to translate this information better than a Spelman, a Harvard, or a Morehouse graduate. You know how we must begin the conversation and how we must lead the way, not show the way. See, show the way is what you do when you know there's a sale at Macy's, because I can find a clearance rack if you just say it's over there. And for the others of us in this room, it is the responsibility of the powerful people in here, and by the way, that's everybody, to change those places back into institutions of healing. It is also our job to do the holy work of ensuring that we never have the health of the community held hostage for political reasons. Never. That is our fault. Yes, Black lives matter, but how about Black health matters? How about Black healthy lives matter? There's work for all of us. And back to this occasion, for our families and friends who have not been through the program, we have some wise words from Dr. Martin Luther King's Professor Howard Thurman. Our peer guides have lived these words already. But Thurman was a Christian mystic from the South, I think Florida, who had become a philosopher and a religious vanguard of his day. And he got the opportunity to preach the baccalaureate service at Spelman on May 4th, 1980. I was a small child. Shut up, Marianne. Thurman said, "There is in every person something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in herself. There is in you something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. Nobody like you has ever been born, and no one like you will ever be born again. You're the only one. And if you miss the sound of the genuine in you, you will be a cripple all the rest of your life, because you will never be able to get to the scent on who you are. There is something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, now Thurman didn't know this, but if you can't hear it for the Twitter and the Facebook and the texting and the sexting, yes, I've heard about it. If you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is for which you are searching. And if you hear it and then do not follow it, Thurman said, it is better that you had never been born. You're the only you that has ever lived. Your idiom is the only idiom of its kind in all of existence. Donna will tell you what that word means. And if you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, you will all your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. I was invited recently to attend a meeting of ministers who are some of our finest preachers and pastors who serve a particular corridor which shall remain unnamed. I came in and I was afraid of them, to be honest, y'all. But I had to go because there is a wind of freedom that is blowing across this land. The Supreme Court decision is going to change the lives of everyone. And I fear that my people are trying to ignore it because we haven't been working diligently as an entire community. Now, some folks like Mary Ann done gave her life for this. But as an entire community, we haven't been working on setting gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered folk free. So I laid it out. I was sincere, passionate, and I was at the wrong meeting. It was their support meeting, y'all. See, I was told that it was just a gathering of ministers and that they listened to topics and talk like my, Unitarian, Universalist, good liberal white folks do. Oops. And when I got really fired up, I said some things that I probably shouldn't have said in the way that I said them. And I hurt one of our older ministers, for which I asked for forgiveness. I was invited there. And I came listening to the call of human equality and love that was inside of me. And here's what happened when I messed up, y'all. One minister called me the next day, said he had been wrestling with everything I said all night long. He's met me twice before, but didn't remember. He called me and asked me to come and do a Bible study on this topic at his church. At 3 other churches, I'm going to be doing some work with them. You better listen to the sound of the genuine in you, because even when you mess up, you're doing the right work. As I close this afternoon, and I know I got 20 more minutes, but I'm going to go on ahead and close. I want to applaud the 7 magnificent people for listening to the call to serve. And I'm going to include the 3 that didn't make it all the way through the program, too. Y'all help each other. Because when you go out there and do this work and you start having them conversations, after you get finished, you're going to feel drained. And y'all keep each other's cell phone number because you're going to need it. You will serve our most in need by living and being an informed example of the care that we must have if we ever want to see an end to this epidemic. You have an informed care that makes you dangerously smart. Thank you for listening to the sound that was within your soul to serve. May the thunderous distractions of our current world not blind and deafen more of us to the point where we never hear what each of us are called to do that will save our human family and this little blue marble that we call our home earth. So far, it's all we've got. May all that is holy help us to listen a little more. Thank you, Howard Thurman, for reminding us this morning, and thank you for letting me drop by. Amen.
Did you want to say something?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Should I just bring the box? Okay. So now we'd like to honor our graduates with the certificate and also a wonderful gift from Reverend Duncan, the Adodi Muse, the Gay Negro Ensemble CD. So as I call your name, if you could please come up. First is Antonio Clark. There you go. Next, we have Joanne Smith. There you go, Joanne. Next, we have Benjamin Young. Let's say Reverend Benjamin Young. Next, we have Dwayne Edwards. Next up, we have Ronnie Kemp. Next is Nikayla Penn. And our last graduate is Gerald Glivens, where we call him Bo. All right. So now I'd like to present you all with a wonderful slideshow to show what our graduates have been up to. So here we go.
I know the buffet is calling. Donna asked if I would give a blessing and a benediction to this part of the program. If you can reach out and hold somebody's hand, that'd be nice. Out of the silence of seeking and listening, may we hear what we must to be free. May our gratitude to the Creator Spirit be like that of a child for their mother and a star pupil for the wisdom of the teacher. Let us not seek distraction, but genuine relationships, genuine love, and genuine gratitude for all who provide what we take for granted, especially this sumptuous luncheon. Bless all who have done anything, anywhere, in any way that helped make this the joyous day that we get to have. Over and over and over again, we say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The spirit of love and kindness be with you. And the congregation said, Amen.